Hi students, I'm very excited to welcome you once again to JC Best Schools online tutorial platform. Today we will be talking on the topic budget. Most of you must have heard about the concept budget, or maybe you don't actually know what the concept is all about, or maybe to some extent you know. In the course of this lesson, I'm going to unlock the mystery behind the concept budget. And I expect you having listened very closely to be able to explain the term budget, state the importance of budget, discuss various types of budget. Please, don't go nowhere. Meaning of budget. Meaning of budget. Now listen very closely. But before I even give the meaning or read it out, I want to know about these two things. These two things will help you to define or even understand more the concept of budget. And they are income, which is also known as what? Revenue, and expenditure, which is also known as payment. And having said that, you may even write them out. Having said that, let's consider the meaning. A budget is a financial statement showing an estimate of income and expenditure planned by the government for a specified period of time, usually 1 year. I also want you to write this concept down, financial. Now, let me read further before explanation. The budget is an essential instrument in the planning and control of the financial affairs of a country. In Nigeria, for instance, the budget is normally prepared by the Ministry of Finance, Budget and Planning, following the directive of the President and presented by the President to the legislature for approval. Now, I want you to also know that the legislature is the arm of government that is saddled with the responsibility to do what? To make laws. Now, President has to make sure that the budget is submitted to the lawmakers for them to approve. In that case, questions will be thrown to the president, or the president will be asked to explain how he wants or she wants to go about the budget and how the revenue will be generated, the expenses, how will it be carried out. Good. The last statement before I actually talk about it. The budget contains a review of the economic conditions that prevailed in the year just concluded, that is last year, as well as government expenditure and income during the same year, the same last year. The budget also makes forecast. Forecast means to predict. In economics, we use the concept forecast to talk about future occurrence or future event for the year ahead and announces the proposed fiscal policy. I believe you know what fiscal policy is all about. We discussed this thing. Actually, it was the first topic for the term, fiscal policy. Now, for better understanding of this, let me just talk about it a little bit. Now, fiscal policy is the use of taxation and government spending, which is revenue generated from taxation and some other means and government spending to influence the economy. Having said that, no, this statement is saying the budget also makes forecast, predicts the future, and announces how government will go about generating revenue through taxation and the spending of the generated revenue to improve the economy. Having said that, let's just think about the definition again. One more time. They say a budget is a financial statement. First, you have to know it's a financial statement. That's one thing you have to know. Don't forget that. It's not just a statement, please. It is a financial statement. Take note. And what does the financial statement talk about? Now, this financial statement shows us what? A planned income or estimated income, and also proposed expenditure done by the government. In this case, not by your dad or your mom or yourself. No, we're talking about government budget as it concerns this economy or the government or the country. Planned by the government for a specified period of time, usually 1 year. Now, I want you to know this. Budget, using Nigeria as a case study, budget lasts for 1 year. Budget is planned yearly. So take note. Budget is planned yearly. And like I said, the person in charge of budget, preparation or planning of budget, is usually under the Ministry of Finance. Now, in Nigerian case, you have the portfolio joined together, Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning joined together. And this ministry is being chaired by who? Now you can see a beautiful lady on your screen. She is the current Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, in the person of who? Honorable Zainab Shamsuna Ahmed. So she is the current Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning. So she is saddled with the duty to do what? To plan the budget. Now, upon directives of the president. Now, you've got to know that the person that actually gives the direction for the planning of the budget is the president of the country, the number one citizen. He or she, if is a female, is the one saddled with the responsibility or has the right to give permission for the honorable minister to plan the budget. Now, remember, the president will also tell the honorable minister what he, the president, actually wants in the budget. But the Minister of Finance will make it and prepare it. And the president in turn will take it to the legislation, National Assembly, the upper and the lower houses. Both houses will debate on it. Will get it approved. Once they are approved, the president will also endorse for the execution of the budget. So that is how budget is planned, or that is how budget is run in Nigeria, probably in any country. So that is what it's all about. Now, I want to say this as well. It says the budget contains a review of economic conditions that prevail in the year just concluded. Now, let me say this. You've got to know this. Budget talks about what has actually happened in the year before. The essence is to actually know how much was generated from the previous year, haven't interpreted or haven't used a budget in the previous year. So what was actually achieved? Did we witness budget deficit? Did we witness budget surplus? What actually transpired last year with respect to our budget? So it's important that the activities, economic activities done the year before is brought to the house or is put in the planning of the budget or is included in the budget so as to enable the current budget to have a good shape and foster economic growth and development. So it's very, very important that the budget of the previous year is actually included. What's actually transpired? How did it happen? So what did the budget achieve? Did we have witnessed deficit or surplus or balanced? So now having said this, we're going to consider the types of what? Budget. Types of budget. No, before types of budget, please, let's consider the importance of budget. The importance of budget or uses of budget. And after this, we'll now talk about types of budget. 1. Allocation of resources. Allocation of resources. Budget is usually used to allocate resources from one sector of the economy to another. Number one, important. It is used to allocate resources. Number one, important says it is used to allocate resources. Now, it's very important to know this. We have different sectors of the economy. So budget helps the government to actually know how many billion naira or $1 billion is actually going to which sector. Education sector, oil sector, energy sector, service sector, health, agricultural sector, electricity sector. These are sectors of the economy. So whichever sector that is not actually doing pretty well, government may decide to pump in more money in order to promote the sector. So it is used to allocate resources because it talks about income and what? Expenses. So now when you're talking about expenses, now which sector is taking so and so amount? In other words, because the expenses will be spent on income, on sectors. You understand? So when you said use the word expenses, sometimes it looks abstract. So how is the expenses done? It's on sectors. So various sectors are going to witness some growth, some level of growth. So what simply means is, okay, let's say education sector is going to take so and so amount of money, and the oil sector, so and so service sector, and any other sector, depending on what government wants to achieve that particular year. Next one talked about to communicate government economic objectives and policies. Government uses budget as a medium to communicate her economic objectives and policies to its people. Now, this is very clear. Government, for us, for citizens, or for the masses to actually know what's happening in the government has it as a duty to do what? To present budget. Now, if you're observant enough, you must have heard when budget is being passed. Of course, you have to know it needs to pass several readings. First, it's a bill before it becomes a law. So, good. Government uses that medium to tell the public, see, this education sector is getting so and so. So, how are they running the government? So it is used by the government to communicate, in other words, to tell us what is actually happening in the economy. The next one talks about appraisal of government performance. Now, appraisal could be interchanged for the word evaluation of government performance. The budget is used by the citizens and international community to evaluate the performance of the government. Now, this is very clear. We can now know, okay, is our government doing well? Is the current government doing well? If I may ask. Did the past government do well, please? Did the past government do well? So you've got to know through what they have actually achieved. Now the sectors will actually tell us whether they actually did well or they did not do well. So it's a form of evaluation. It helps the citizens and also international communities to do what? To know the performance of the government. Know whether to rate them 10 or 100, 10%, or 100%, or 90%. So it helps the citizens and also the foreign countries to know whether this economy or this government is doing well or not. Now, to foster economic growth and development. Now, you and I can agree on this particular one. Budget is used generally to stimulate economic growth and development. Now, if you don't want to use the word stimulate, you may say facilitate, to encourage, to foster, to bring about. Good. Budget helps because you and we don't know government and budget entails income and expenditure. So in the expenditure part, it will enable the government to actually spend on the sector that is not doing well. Hope you know. And I hope you know what economic growth is all about. And I've actually defined this. Economic growth is the increase in the general capacity of the goods and services. Increase in the general capacity of the production of goods and services. Or it could be defined in another way by saying it is the general increase in the productive capacity of goods and services. Now, take for instance, if agricultural sector is actually doing well, you and I will know because food products will be everywhere, farm produce will be everywhere. Now, in this case, you can confidently say that there's economic growth or there is growth in the part of agriculture or in agricultural sector. So it's very visible. So it helps us to checkmate economic growth, to encourage one, given the fact that government spends, so it will enable government to spend on those sectors that are actually not doing well, or to even improve the ones that are actually doing well, to bring them up to another level. So it helps. And you know what development is all about? Development is when that growth is sustained for a long period of time, in the sense that at the end, you will have general welfare of the people being met. Now, in other words, people are being catered for, people are being taken care of. The well-being of the people is considered paramount. So that is when development comes. In other words, there is good life and electricity, good health sector, education. So that's when growth is sustained for a long period of time. And you've got to know that without the economic growth, there will be no economic development. So growth comes before development. And I also have to know that development doesn't come except growth exists. Because you must first and foremost produce at a higher level before you're not talking about, okay, development. So this budget helps to achieve such, because it will enable government to plan for the sectors that will be developed or that needs growth, which will bring about development. So the next one talks about budget is used to curb inflation and deflation. To curb inflation and deflation. Budget is also used by the government to control inflation and deflation in the economy. Now, I'm going to repeat this. Inflation is the general increase in the price level. Deflation is the general decrease in the price level. I haven't said that. If you say it is used to curb inflation, in other words, it is used, government decide to reduce the expenses. That is it. If there is too much money in circulation, government decide to spend less. By spending less, then in other words, government wants to generate more revenue at the expense of expenditure. Therefore, expenses will be reduced and more revenue will be generated. Government could use taxation to achieve that. In other words, the excess money in circulation will be reduced to a barest minimum. So in this case, inflation has been solved. The problem of inflation has been solved. Now, that of deflation, if there is general decrease in the price level, in other words, it means people are no longer demanding for commodities. They don't have money to spend. It's as simple as that. So what will government do? Government will decide to pump in more money into the sector. By pumping in more money into the sector, there will be industrial development, manufacturing of products, workers will get jobs, they will have salaries and wages, and they have enough to spend back into the economy. Have you seen how it works? It's a vicious cycle of progress. So it could be used, government budget could be used to achieve such. And next on our list is types of government budget. Types of government budget. Now listen very closely. We have balanced and unbalanced. We have balanced budget, we also have unbalanced budget. And under unbalanced budget, we also have surplus and what? Deficit. Let's take it from there. Now, balanced budget. What's balanced budget? A balanced budget of a government is a budget with income equal to expenditure. Is that simple? Like I said earlier, there are two things you just have to take note of. Income, expenditure, or revenue, payment. Anyone you want to use, they're all correct. But we are talking about only two things, the income and expenditure. Good. Now I say a balanced budget of a government is a budget with income equal to expenditure. Does that make sense? I think it does. Next one, it says, in other words, balanced budget occurs when the total estimated revenue of a government is equal to the proposed expenditure. Now, looking at the diagram there, it looks like the stuff maybe you've seen in a court where justice is being passed. Now they are equal. You can see income, you can see expenses, both of the same weight, both of the same weight. You can see that, so they are equal. Now, balanced budget means, by the concept balance, most of you have heard about the word balance. It's an English word. So it means both the expenses planned to be carried out and the revenue planned to be generated, both are equal. So when you have such a thing, you now have balanced budget. You say the budget is balanced. In other words, there is no reserve, there is no debt. Debt, I mean owing someone. And there's no reserve, there's no excess. Both are equal. So that is what we mean by balanced budget. It means the expenses that we're going to carry out and the money we're going to generate, both are equal. So now having said that, let's take the next one. What then reasons for balanced budget? Number one, it prevents financial insecurity. Balanced budget do prevent financial insecurity in the economy. Now this simply means, when you're talking about insecurity, it means, I want you to use the last two words. It said financial insecurity. Money and insecure. In other words, when you talk about financial insecurity, it means a situation whereby there is no debt. I want you to just understand it this way. There is no debt. Nobody is owing another person. Nobody is owing one. So financial security means you're okay. You're not owing nobody. When there's financial security, insecurity means you are in debt. So it prevents a country being in debt. Balanced budget do prevent such. So it helps the government. In other words, now by the definition, like I said, it is income being equivalent to expenditure. So then there's nothing like I'm owing the government, or the government is owing another country or a private individual. No, it is not palatable. It's not possible in this case in balanced budget, because both sides are equal. So it prevents debt in the economy. It prevents financial insecurity. Number two, it helps to control expenditure. Balanced budget is used by the government to control financial expenditure. Balanced budget is used by the government to control financial expenditure. Now, what it simply means is government uses balanced budget to do what? To control financial expenditure. Now, financial expenditure, we mean here expending more than required. In other words, rendering the economy bankrupt. Government uses what we call balanced budget. Both of them are equal. You weigh both of them. So the revenue is equivalent to the expenditure. So it helps the government to know not too much spending. Even if there's too much spending, the income will still back it up, because both are equal. So it controls expenditure. That is what the point is talking about. The third one, reduction in interest payment on loans. Good. Now, come to think of it, let me read the point first. It says, balanced budget equally has to reduce interest on payment of loans. Now, if you're not owing anybody, will you be talking about loan or interest? As a matter of fact, if you're not owing anybody, these words are alien to you. They are foreign to you. You don't know them. Interest, loans, you don't use them. Are you getting it? So reduction in interest, actually, it should be nothing like loan or interest, because as long as the economy, the income is equivalent to the expenditure, so you have no business borrowing, because it actually means that it's well planned, essentially, whereby the expenses that will be carried out is the same with the revenue that will be generated. So there's no room for loan seeking. Nothing like that. The next one, it helps to curb excessive borrowing. Balanced budget helps to prevent excessive borrowing by the government. Good. Now, if an economy or a budget is planned essentially whereby the revenue is equivalent to the expenditure, you will discover that borrowing will be reduced to a barest minimum. So it will be checkmated. Government will be prevented to actually going for unnecessary things, maybe loans that are actually not required. Because the budget is already planned, income equivalent to expenditure. So it helps to checkmate such. It helps to curb the excessive nature of borrowing by the government in some cases. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the other type of what? Budget, which is surplus budget. Surplus budget. A surplus budget occurs when government spending is less than its income in a given period of time. Now, take it. It occurs when government spending is less than its income in a given period of time. In other words, budget is called surplus when the total estimated revenue, which is also known as income, is more than proposed expenditure. Now, the two things you're actually talking about, the income, the expenditure, both of them, when the revenue is more than the expenditure, now you have surplus. In this kind of budget, not all estimated revenue, which is income, is proposed to be spent in that year, meaning that there will be reserve. Now, look at the diagram there. You can see that there is surplus. If you read the currency there talks about $95.4 billion for revenue, while $93 billion for expenditure. Now, in this case, there is $2 billion surplus. In this particular case, you can see that the revenue is more than the expenditure. So in this case, the estimated income is more than the proposed expenditure. So you have what we call surplus, budget surplus. So budget surplus comes when the revenue estimated for the year is more than the proposed expenditure for the same year. Hence, budget surplus. So does that make sense? The two things you're comparing, the revenue in this case is more than the expenditure. So I think it's fair enough. It's well explanatory or self-explanatory. So let's move to the next one. Now here, deficit budget. Deficit budget or budget. A budget deficit occurs when the government spending exceeds her income in a given period of time, usually 1 year or a year. Now, in this case, the two things you're comparing, but in this particular one, the expenditure is actually more than the revenue. Now, if you look at the diagrams, the one up there and the one down, you can see actually we use two different years, put them together. Now we have deficit. We have the revenue less than the expenditure. We also have the revenue less than the expenditure or spending. Now you can see the diagram showing something like weighing balance. The debt, you can see the debt larger or more than the income. You can see the dollar there. So obviously, expenditure is more than what? Revenue. That's what the diagram is actually telling us. So in a situation whereby you have deficit, you could even use it as your personal word. Bro, I'm incurring deficit. You are trying to tell the person that you are in a loss. If you're operating financial whatever, You're trying to tell the person, don't beg me money because I'm actually losing. Because the revenue I'm getting is less than actually the expenses I'm carrying out. So it's one of the words economics often use. So you may say you are in deficit. You're actually talking about being in debt or you're running deficit. So when you're talking about deficit budget, the two things we are comparing, which is the income and the expenditure. In this particular case, the expenditure is more than the income. Take note, don't forget. In other words, the budget is called deficit when the government's total proposed expenditure for a period of time is more than the estimated income, which is revenue. Like I just said, when it refers to federal government spending, a budget deficit is referred to as the national debt. Now let me put it in another word, paraphrased. When it is from the federal level or federal spending, it is known as what? National debt. And national debt is another topic we're going to talk about probably next week. Now, you can know the meaning of national debt and types of national debt. And having said this, let's do the assignment. We're drawing the curtain here, but before you go, take a look at the assignment and make sure you do. You could Google it, okay? You can search on the internet, but make sure you know what you're actually writing. Some of you don't actually read; they just download and copy and paste. It doesn't make any sense. Make sure you do what? Go through your work. Make sure you understand it first. In fact, write what you understand. It makes more sense like that. So even if you are called upon to defend, you could be able to say something. So here you are to explain the economic effects of deficit budget. The economic effects. I haven't said what deficit budget is all about. So what do you think is the effect on the economy? What are the effects on the economy? So I want you to write them, explain them. The next one is outline the effects of surplus budget. Also, I want you to talk about the effects of surplus budget on the economy as well. Now, thanks very kindly having listened to this extent. I so much appreciate. Thanks. I remain your host, Mr. Linus. Now, see you next week. Go on the Google platform and submit the assignment and have a good day. Make sure you be in your best behavior. Hope to see you guys soon. Bye.